Welcome to the Every Brain is Different podcast. It is Samantha and Lauren here with you. And today we are talking about autistic burnout because it's the holidays and burnout happens. Burnout can happen a lot during the holidays. I think it's prime time. So,
For sure.
especially because they've been in school for a couple months, 2 or 3 months. And if they're masking at school, then that is building up. And then the holidays come around and they're out of their routine. And so
Mhm.
it's just like a prime time for burnout. So
Yeah.
if your child suddenly seems more withdrawn, irritable, or exhausted, even, doing things that they usually love, it might not be defiance or regression or anything like that. It could just be autistic burnout. This is just an example. When my son was in school, he was definitely burned out because he was masking all day, and then he would come home and just be alone, like all day after school. He just wanted to be alone. He didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to talk to anyone. And then if you did talk to him, he would get really upset and really angry. If you asked him to do something, he would get upset and angry. And then we started homeschooling him, and his behavior did a complete 180. He's like happy again. He's laughing, all that kind of stuff. And so everyone, like when it happened and he would be defiant or shut down or be rude, people would be like, well, you just need to discipline him more. Well, no, you can't discipline the burnout out of a
Yeah.
kid, or you can't discipline anything like out of a kid. But yeah, so that was just a really big wake up call for me that like autistic burnout is real. It's not them just being a little turd bucket, like I sometimes say to my children. You probably shouldn't say that to your children, but I don't say it to them when I know that there's something else going on. But sometimes kids, they
Kids
just
are
do
kids.
things. Kids are kids. I'm like, why
It's
are you being a
okay.
turd bucket right now? Anyway, that is a really gross term. I never thought about it. Anyway, moving on. What is autistic burnout? Autistic burnout is a state of physical, emotional, and cognitive exhaustion caused by long-term masking, overwhelm, or sensory or social stressors. So there's stress and then there's burnout. I think everyone experiences stress, but if that stress goes on too long, that's when burnout happens. So stress is temporary, burnout is cumulative. I can't say that word, but
Me neither.
it's over a period of time. And then meltdowns are acute. So if a kid has like a sensory stressor that's, just right in the moment and they have a meltdown, that's very acute. But burnout can linger for weeks or months. Like my son was burned out until we got him out of school, until he didn't have that stress in his life anymore because it had built up so much in him that he could not come back to a place that was comfortable for him until school was completely out of the picture. Like not even not going to school, but not even having the thought of going to school. So when we said we were definitely homeschooling him, his behavior did a complete 180. So that's kind of the difference between stress and burnout. Like stress is acute, burnout is what happens when you're stressed for a period of
Long
time.
time.
Yeah, yeah. And some causes in kids, especially kids who are neurodivergent, is constant effort to meet neurotypical expectations at school, at therapy, or social settings. I think, especially in social settings, we don't think about it because we're like, oh, they're just being kids. Like, kids like going to hang out with their friends. They like doing things. But I know for me, like social settings can be so taxing. And I
Yeah, even
don't
as
know
an
what,
adult.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and we know how to regulate ourselves. Hopefully, most of us can. We have the tools to help us cope and regulate, and they don't, and not
yeah.
as well. And so, if we're feeling it, they're gonna feel it 10 times.
Yeah, and they don't know what to do with those emotions. And so a lot of times they mask because they don't want to seem different than their peers. And so they're masking their true selves. And so that causes stress. And then add on that the stress of not knowing what to do, not understanding sarcasm, not knowing if they're welcome. thinking like if they have ADHD and they have rejection sensitivity dysphoria, thinking that, oh, no one likes me, everyone's just pretending to like me, that can cause a lot of stress.
Stress
So
just thinking about it.
I know. And that's one thing that can cause it. Sensory overload without adequate recovery time. I think about this a lot during the holidays when you might be going from thing to thing to thing to thing because you want to make all the holiday memories, but your kid might just be completely overwhelmed with all the lights, all the sound, all the candy, all the everything. And so maybe take a step back and don't make as many holiday memories because it will be remembered as a happier time, even if you didn't do all the things.
Don't force your kid to get near Santa.
Oh, yeah.
I watched that play out past weekend, and these poor kids look so stressed out, neurotypical or not. Like, I think that's a huge stressor for kids in Christmas time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If your kid really doesn't want to see Santa Claus, don't make them sit
Let
on a
it go.
glove. It's fine. You don't need the picture.
Yeah.
It's fine. Another thing that we've kind of talked about is just emotional suppression or masking or trying to be good. And that's just trying to fit in, trying to not seem different, trying to be like their peers. And so you're just suppressing everything. And I know, I was just talking to my husband about this the other day. When I would go around certain family members as a kid, I was very emotional as a child, and they would make fun of me all the time. And so whenever I went around this family, I would suppress my emotions. They would make fun of me if I was like super happy or super sad. It didn't matter. They're like, "Why are you so excited right now? Why are you so sad right now?" Like all this different stuff. It did not matter what I was feeling, it was too much. And so I just tried to stay as even keeled as possible. And that eventually led me to at least one time while being around them, I would just break down sobbing and have this complete meltdown every single time because I was so stressed trying to be what I thought they wanted me to be. So that's a lot for a kid. Now I'm just who I am and I don't care if
Deal
they,
with it.
yeah, they can deal with it, not be around me if they don't want to be around me. And then also around the holidays and everyday life, but I think especially around the holidays, unpredictable environments and lack of control in kids can lead to burnout. If they're constantly having their routine change for 2 or 3 months during the holidays, or I guess it's more like 2 months, then they can get stressed out. They can get burned out really fast if everything is unpredictable and they don't know what's happening. Or if you want them to try new activities that they haven't done before because you're making new memories, don't worry about making the memories. Just do what is comfortable for you and your kids.
Yeah.
This is just a quote. I don't know where it came from, but I like it. It says autistic burnout happens when the demands of the world consistently exceed a child's capacity and there's no space to rest, recover, or be fully themselves. So that's really what it boils down to is when the demands exceed their capacity, that's when burnout happens. And they need time to rest, they need time to recover, and they need time to be fully themselves. And then the next thing we're going to talk about is what autistic burnout looks like. So, early warning signs include increased irritability or emotional outbursts, more frequent meltdowns or shutdowns. I know when my kids have burnout, they just shut down. They don't do anything. They will literally just sit down and not move from that spot.
Yeah.
And
Like the
so,
emotion is
yeah,
exhausting.
yeah,
Like I'm
even
done.
emotions are exhausting. Like they don't cry, they don't scream, they don't do anything, they just sit. And I'm like, okay, that is an early warning sign of
Burnout.
burnout. And then difficulty concentrating or sudden skill regression. So if they're going along doing pretty well and then all of a sudden they start regressing, might be because of burnout. Refusal to do things they normally enjoy. Like when my son was burned out, he didn't even want to go play outside. He didn't want to play two square. He didn't want to do anything that he normally liked doing. And so that was a big red flag to me. And then if they need more time than usual for alone time or quiet spaces. Physical signs can include fatigue, dark circles, headaches, stomach aches, sleep changes, sensory sensitivities intensifying. Most neurodivergent kids have sensory sensitivities, but if they're more than usual, that might be a sign that they're starting to be in burnout. And then with sleep changes, that can be trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep, or even trouble waking up. And behavioral challenges are not challenges, changes include avoiding social interactions, more rigid routines, or resistance to change. So they want to control everything. And I think it's good for kids to have control over things that they can control because there's so many things that kids can't control. But if they just intensify that need and they just will not accept not being in charge of things, that's when it becomes an issue where you might want to look at, is it burnout? And then loss of language or communication for some kids. So once again, like skill regression, if they're going along making progress and all of a sudden they're having trouble with language or having trouble communicating, that could be because of burnout. So I know a lot of parents, when kids are burned out, they look like they're lazy, or they look like they have an attitude problem, or they look like they're just having skill regression, when what they really need is like a nervous system reset because it can't keep doing it.
Yeah.
So,
It's been overworked. It needs some shutdown time.
yeah, they just need
Safe
time to
shutdown time.
recover. Yeah, yeah. So we talked about some of the causes of burnout, but here are some more triggers. So some common triggers are transitions. So school changes. Maybe they went from preschool to kindergarten. That is a huge change. So if your child is doing that, or they go from elementary school to middle school or middle school to high school, be on the lookout for burnout because especially going from preschool to elementary school, if they're not used to going to school all day, that can be a huge change where they had time during the day to kind of do what they wanted. Maybe they went to preschool a few days a week, or even if they went every day, like usually preschool is not as long
Yeah,
as a
it's not
typical
all
school
day.
day. Yeah. So look for for signs of burnout. I know when my daughter started kindergarten, she became really controlling after school. If she didn't get to decide what she did after school, she'd have meltdowns. And then she always wanted to be with me. Like she just always wanted me to watch her. She always wanted to play with me, all of that. And those were signs that of stress. And then if they continued, like it would be signs of burnout. So changes in school are huge. Or if they get a new teacher, if they get a new therapist, the holidays, like we've talked about, are especially hard for a lot of neurodivergent kids because their transitions do change and they're around a lot more people and all of that. And then once again, high demands without recovery time. So if they have a really hard day, like there's a lot of demands placed on them, and then they don't have time to recover, whatever that looks like for them. After that, if that happens too much, then they'll probably go into burnout. And then once again, environments that require constant masking and sensory overwhelm. So if we're always asking our kids to keep up without giving them time to decompress, we're setting them up for burnout, even if we don't mean to. So even if it's things that they enjoy, if they don't have time to decompress, they're going to go into burnout. And then it takes a while to get a burnout. Like, depending on how far they're into it, it might take a few months. It might take 6 months to a year to come out of burnout. I've talked to parents who their kids were burned out from school, and it took a good 6 months to a year to really come back to who they were before they got burned out. I think it depends on how long you've been burned out.
No, yeah.
It correlates to how long it takes you to get back to your normal levels of
Baseline.
activity. Yeah, baseline. That's what I was trying to think of. Speaking of that, how can we support recovery? The first thing is to reduce demands. So pull back from non-essential activities. This can include play dates, extra therapies, even homework if needed. Like I really like my kids' elementary school because they don't require homework. They give enrichment activities, but they don't require homework, which I think is awesome. Because why are you going to school for 8 hours a day and then doing homework after school? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
And so you can just ask yourself and ask your kid too, if your kid can answer, what can we take off your plate right now? What's something that maybe we're not going to do right now? Doesn't mean we're not going to do it forever, just maybe don't do it right now. So that includes like low demand parenting that we talk a lot with pathological demand avoidance kids. Just maybe instead of asking them to do things, you can say, oh, this needs done, and then they'll do it. Or if you ask them to clean their room, say, go do this first. Now go do this. Now go do this. Don't ask them to do like big things by themselves because that's just going to overwhelm them even more.
Yeah. Baby steps.
Yeah. And then the second thing you can do to help with recovery is create predictability. You can use visual schedules, checklists, clear routines, and you do this because predictability gives the nervous system safety cues. It helps the nervous system feel safe when the kid knows what's going to happen. I know that I feel safer when I know what's going to happen because I feel more in control of my day.
Mm-hmm.
And this might look like, even if your kid is older, I know there was one kid that I worked with that they asked their mom for their chore list at the beginning of the day because in their family, the mom would just give chores as they needed done. She's, oh, the dishwasher needs unloading. Do it right now. This needs done right now. This needs done right now. And she could not work like that. And so her mom gave her chores at the beginning of every day. And then she did her chores no problem because she was able to plan for them. And then she was able to know that after she did those chores, barring some unforeseen thing, that she had the rest of the day to herself and that she could do what she wanted to do. And so that's kind of like what my son does for school. He gets up really early a lot and he'll just do school in the morning. And then by 8 o'clock, he's done for the day and he can do whatever he wants. And so that might help kids a lot, is just letting them plan their day and then you supporting them with whatever schedule works the best for them. And then the third thing to help in recovery is offer sensory rest. So this can look like dimming the lights, lowering noise, providing cozy textures, providing weighted blankets, and then you can schedule a no demand quiet time where you're not going to tell them anything to do. You're not going to place any demands on them. And you'll say, I'm not going to even talk to you unless you talk to me for this amount of time. Maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's an hour, whatever your kid, whatever they need. You can ask them, you can just do it, whatever. But that can be a time when they know that they have it to themselves. They're not going to be interrupted, and that can help the nervous system feel a little bit safer. And the fourth thing is to provide safe spaces for autonomy. So let them choose activities, meals, or sensory breaks. When they have a choice, it restores a sense of control, which also helps the nervous system feel safer. They know that they're in control of their choices. They're in control of what they're going to eat, what they're going to do. And then you can say, like, this is non-negotiable. Like for dinner, it's non-negotiable. You have to eat a vegetable, you have to eat protein, whatever. What you eat is your choice, but you have to have like good nutrition.
Yeah.
That's just an example of a non-negotiable. If eating is really hard in your household, maybe you don't have that rule. Totally fine. There could be other non-negotiables, like you have to do your schoolwork, but after you do your schoolwork, you can do whatever you want, stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then rebuild through joy. So reintroduce preferred activities slowly, especially special interests. And you can allow parallel play, gentle movement, or nature time as the bridge back to connection. So instead of being like, let's play a game, if that's too overwhelming for them, maybe you sit at the table and they sit at the table, but doing different activities so that you're still like building that connection with them, but you're not making them
And
do things.
participate
Yeah, you're not making them
directly.
participate directly. Exactly. And the last thing is to watch your own regulation because, like we say all the time, you are a model for your kids. Your kids are going to model what you're doing. If you stay regulated, then you're a good example for them to stay regulated. And honestly, most of the time when a kid is burned out, usually a parent is burned out too,
Yes. Wow.
because it is super stressful when your kids are burned out and you don't know what's going on. So you can model slowing down, saying no to people, resting, and protecting your energy. And I think that's a great thing for kids to learn, because then they won't have to relearn it as an adult, like a lot of adults have to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next section we're going to talk about is preventing future burnout. So prioritize recovery time after stressful events, school, holidays, therapy days, any of those stressful things. Just prioritize recovery time, whatever that looks like for your child. And then practice energy accounting. Look at what drains you and what replenishes you, and help your kids look at that too, so that they can know, like, hey, when I do this activity, it's really draining. So I might need to have some extra recovery time after this activity that needs to be done, but I can plan time in to recover after it. And then build rhythms of rest in their daily life. So are you going to rest during your morning routine, bedtime decompression? Are you going to take nature breaks? Whatever works for you, just build rest into your daily life. And then communicate with schools and therapists about energy levels and pacing. So if you notice patterns in your kid, you can talk to the therapist, you can talk to the school, and just say, hey, this is what I notice in my kid. Like, how can we support them in this? How can we support their energy levels? Like, maybe we're not doing deep work in the afternoon when they've been at school all day and they're tired and they need a break. Maybe we're doing that in the morning, which I think a lot of schools do, like the mandatory
Hope
stuff.
that we figured that out
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
now.
But if not, like, I know some teachers are like, well, you have to do this work during your free time in the afternoon. Maybe don't do that. Just saying. And then teach kids language for their limits. So teach them to say, I need rest. I need quiet time. My brain is full. I'm feeling this way. And just help them advocate for themselves, so that when someone asks them to do something and they don't have the energy for it, they can say, I need rest right now, but I can do that later. One of my friends is like pro at this. We should have her on the podcast. She protects her energy at all costs, and I respect her so much for it. She's amazing. Maybe I should talk to her about coming on the podcast,
We
because
should.
she's amazing. She, like, the way that she just does not care what you think. I aspire to be that level of not nonchalant, but not caring,
Yeah.
because she's like, this is what I've learned. I need to take care of myself, or I can't take care of anyone. And
Yeah.
so I respect it. I love it. And just remember that burnout isn't a failure. It's feedback from the body that the things that you're doing outweigh your capacity to do them. And so it's not a personal failure on your part. It just means that you don't have the capacity to do everything that you're doing right now, and that's okay. So,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. And remember that recovery takes time. So be compassionate to your kid. Don't pressure them into recovery. Like, don't pressure them to recover faster, because that's just going to lead to more burnout.
Yeah.
That's a funny thing to say, but it's true. I do that to myself. I'm like, I should be better by now. And I'm like, what are
I
you
have the
doing?
afternoon off. I should be
You,
fine.
yeah, yeah, you can't pressure yourself into recovery. It doesn't work like that. And it just makes it worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, share it with another parent who's raising a neurodivergent kid. We'd love that. We are also enrolling now for the neurodivergent parenting community, where if you're feeling a little bit burned out, come and get the support you need. We meet once a month, and then we have our online community, and it's all about supporting you as a parent. So, hope you have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you in December.